Ang leading brand Bango dilita ng dunay maximum fluoride. Busa misis, pag unique toothpaste. Tanan may maximum fluoride protection, patok sa tooth decay.
That's why kaya ngayon, unique ang toothpaste ko. Kahit anong kulay, maximum fluoride ito. Goodbye sa tooth decay. Unique toothpaste every day.
Unique toothpaste manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified world-class quality.
ACS.
Lumalabas ang aming galing-galing paghaharap sa matinding hugasin. Tanggal ang sebo, tanggal bakterya, tanggaling smart dishwashing.
Parami ng parami ang smart sa hugasin. Kaya #1 na ang Smart Dishwashing Paste. May double tanggaling formula. Tanggal-galing ang sebo, tanggal-galing ang bakterya.
Tanggaling smart dishwashing.
Tanggaling-galing sa presyong magaling din. Smart Dishwashing. Gawa ng ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified. World-class quality.
ACS.
Asa mas practical? Joy dishwashing liquid o ordinaryong paste? Sa paste?
Daghang pahid, daghang kuskus, pahid, kuskus, pahid, kuskus. Sa oras kahago, si kaayo.
Ang Joy dishwashing liquid, sulit kaayo. Tungod kay...
Kung sa kapurong tulog, sa Joy, kabala, 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 sa Joy, kabala, 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 sa Joy. Joy, sulit kaayo. Sa kapurong tulog, sa Joy, kabala, 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 sa Joy, kabala, 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 sa Joy. Joy, sulit kaayo. Purong patak, pisang katutak.
For hygienic dishwashing, mag-Joy. Also available, Joy Antibac.
Ang Pride with Fabric Conditioner. Ngayon, may blooming na bango ng Sakura.
Sakura, sakura ang bango. Sakura, sakura ang pride ko. Blooming ng labada ko. Pride, sakura, sakura.
Pride with Fabric Conditioner. May Sakura Blooming Pearls para sa labadang blooming sa linis, labadang blooming sa bango for as long as 24 hours.
Blooming ng labada ko. Pride, sakura, sakura.
Para sa blooming na labada, i-Pride Sakura mo na. Pride Sakura Blossom. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified. World-class quality.
ACS.
24 hours of germ protection. Shield that soap, shield that soap. 24 hours of germ protection. Shield that soap, shield that soap.
Protektahan ang kalusugan ng pamilya. Mag-Shield Bath Soap regularly. Kills 99.9% ng germs at recommended pa ng Philippine Nurses Association.
Shield that soap, shield that soap.
Shield. Galit sa sakit, may malasakit. Shield Bath Soap. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified. World-class quality.
ACS.
Ang Biogesic, maayo gyud di lang hinlanat apilsad sa sakit sa ulo. Kasaligan ng kamaayo o pag-alaga. Kay kung isog na tambal, basin makadaot. Maayo gyud ang alagang Biogesic. Ingat!
Unilabyan. Paracetamol is the generic name of Biogesic. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
Tunay na maipagmamalaki ng Pinoy ang MX3. Gawang Pilipino, natural at orihinal sa katunayan. Sunod-sunod na parangal ang tinanggap nito sa Europa at Amerika. Mula sa Switzerland, United Kingdom, France at New York. Isang pagkilala sa kalidad ng produktong Pilipino. MX3. Araw-araw. Tulong para iwas-iwas sa sakit with proper diet and exercise. Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Usahay ra sila makigdula.
Mama, laro tayo. Abunin mo ako.
Usahay ra sila maparaygon.
Mama, I love you very, very much.
Usahay ra sila bata.
Mama, inom tayo ng Chucky, please, please, please.
Mao nga pag-abot sa balon, dito ka na sa love ug siguradong mahurot niya. Chucky, adunay lami sa chocolate, naapay sustansya sa gatas.
Mama, thank you. Make recess time, Chucky time. My chocolatey buddy.
Ito ang DXDR 981 sa Dipolog City. Basta balita at serbisyo publiko. Tatak RMN.
Karong panahon na, daghan ang nagkadaiya nga atong masagap nga impormasyon nga gikutlo gikan sa lain-laing mga dapit. Anaa ang nagkadaiyang programa sa radyo, telebisyon, social media nga gisabuag ngadto sa publiko. Apan, tinuod ba kining tanan? Nalamdagan makamo sa mga importante mga butang nga dunay kalambigitan ang atong katilingban. Naglibog ba kamo kung unsa ang tinuod? Naglibog ba kamo kung kinsa ang nagsulti sa tinuod? Asa kamo padulong kung buot kamo nga masayod sa tinuod nga hitabo? Kinsa ang angay ninyong pamation og masaligan aron mawala ang inyong kalibog? Wes, paminaw kamo sa Kapihan sa Dipolog. Simultaneous broadcast live over RMN DXDR 981 kHz ug ingon man sa IFM 94.1 MHz ug makita ug madungog usab sa website nga www.rmndipolog.weebly.com ug sa Kapihan sa Dipolog Facebook ug YouTube accounts sa social media. Dinhi sa istasyon nga inyong gisaligan kanunay, ang istasyon nga kanunay nagtug-an sa tinuod nga panghitabo sa atong katilingban karong panahona. Kapihan sa Dipolog, ang bugtong nga public affairs program nga balanse, patas, nagtug-an sa matuod nga panghitabo sa atong dakbayan sa Dipolog ug dapitan ug ingon man sa tibok lalawigan sa Zamboanga del Norte. Busa, mga higala ug kaigsuunan sa kahanginan, paminaw kamo kanunay sa Kapihan sa Dipolog sa matag adlaw nga Domingo sa may alas 9 ngadto sa alas 11 ang takna sa kamuntagon sa RMN DXDR ug IFM sa official venue dito sa Sunburst Camela Hotel 1 ning dakbayan sa Dipolog. Ang Kapihan sa Dipolog gihatod kaninyo pinaagi sa maayong kabubuton sa Media Services.
Maayong buntag kini ang Kapihan sa Dipolog. Live kita nga nanukad dinhi sa ato ang station sa Radio Mindanao Network DXDR 981 AM sa inyong radio dials o ingon man IFM 94.1. Simultaneous broadcast kita pinaagi sa kahimanan sa Radio Mindanao Network. Aniya kita mahimutang sa Barangay Turno ning Dakbayan sa Dipolog. Wala kita sa atong official venue sa Camila Hotel 1 because of COVID-19. Social distancing and all the health protocol sa atong gi kanunay nga gi okay na ana kanunay nato nga gi so ko kasabot kanunay nato nga gi observe no. So kini si Edit pahintito mo yung regular anchor and host sa Kapihan sa Dipolog kauban sa ato ang mga boys diri sa RMN DXDR, si Danny Luod, si Tax Ilumba, tapos si Roji Monira, asa na? O, ana ra? Matabunan akong nawong. Okay. Sige. Tapos si PD Briones, si Atty. Cres Palpagan. Okay. Na nato mga bisita karong buntaga, di man ko comfortable tax, ana tax. Ana okay ra? Ana okay na? Okay. Atong gi-adjust man gud ang camera kay live streaming man ta natapos sa YouTube. So daghang kay camera atong kuan diri, studio diri no. So gi-adjust kanunay ni Danny, ni Roji ug ni ang tax ilabi na kay karong buntaga sama sa naandan ang ato ang mga bisita no, mga banggiitan kini sa ilaang field of expertise no. Muna nga ato gyud kini silang gituyo pag-imbitar kay gusto nato nga madungog no, right from the horse's mouth ug unsa ang mga topics nga dapat nga i-discuss atong Kapihan sa Dipolog. So welcome no sa ato ang mga suki nga tigpaminaw, sa ato ang darang bulpin, sa ato ang mga viewers all over the world. Pwede mo send sa inyong questions, pwede mo mangutana o mintras nga naadiri ato ang mga bisita karong buntaga. Pasalamat kita sa ato mga sponsors no, aya kita maadto sa unahan dayon mga G sa punta kay importante kaayo labi na karong panahon na nga musampit gyud kita sa atong labaw nga makagagahom. So kuyugi ko ninyo, bani ko ninyo sa nga mga G kita sa makadyot lamang aron atong isintro ang ato ang panahon, ang atong kinabuhi sa atong labaw nga makagagahom nga may nagdala sa atong kinabuhi sa matag oras, sa matag takna nga tanan sa atong pagpakabuhi ning kalibutan. So in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, Amen. A prayer of healing. Lord, you invite all who are burdened to come to you. Allow your healing hand to heal us. Touch our souls with your compassion for others. Touch our hearts with your courage and infinite love for all. Touch our minds with your wisdom, that our mouths may always proclaim your praise. Teach us to reach out to you in our needs and help us to lead others to you. by our example. Most loving Sacred Heart of Jesus, bring us health in body and spirit, that we may serve you with all our strength and hearts. Touch gently our life, which you have created, now and forever. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, Lord, for the gift of life. So, padayon kita. Una sa tanan, ako i-greet o good morning and happy weekend, no? Happy Sunday. Ngadto kang former Regional Director, Regional Manager sa Philippine Coconut Authority, nga si Mr. Ralph Amoy, kauban ni Ma'am Bingbing Amoy, kay nakainom kog hibiscus tea gikan sa Egypt, no? Lamian maday kaayo, murag daghan mo karon mga uso-uso karon. So iya kong ipainom ni Ma'am Bingbing Amoy, no. Paadto namong Ariel karong buntag sa ilaang Pinoyanan. So hold on to your seats, no, everybody. Dayon natay gamay pod nga announcement after sa ato ang commercial break, no. So magpasalamat una kita sa atong mga sponsors nga may nagdalag kinabuhi sa atong kapihan sa Dipolog matag Domingo nga tanan, mintras atong papahulayon una ang atong mga bisita nga nahiabot diri kaubada nato karong buntaga. So thank you so much nga to kang Vice Governor Senen Alvis Angeles, Presiding Officer sa Sangguniang Panalawigan sa Zamboanga del Norte. Thank you so much nga to sa National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, pinagi kang Miss Elizabeth Ladagang, Regional Corporate Public Affairs Officer nga nagabasi sa Iligan City. Bantayi, hapit na mahuman ang Mindanao Visayas Interconnection Project, nagkantidad og 52 billion pesos ang cable terminal station anaa sa Barangay Tag-Ulo, Dapitan City. Magpasalamat kita kang President Anthony Almeida, Chairman Henry C. Jr. o Attorney Cynthia Alabanza ang spokesperson. Ang NGCP pinaagi sa ilang 1 billion pesos, no, nga corporate social responsibility ni hatag sa national government, pinaagi sa food packs nga 50 million pesos, 500 pesos million pesos worth. Dayon ang non-food packs like hospital facilities 500 million pesos pod nga worth. Usa ang Zamboanga del Norte sa nakadawat niini sa food packs, no, sa pinaagi sa gikan sa National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. 25 municipalities and 2 cities of Dipolog and Dapitan nakadawat sa food packs gikan sa National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. Thank you so much nga to kang Dr. Ruth M. Brillantes, board member sa 3rd District Zamboanga del Norte, Chairman Committee on Health, Sanitation and Human Settlement. Daghang salamat nga to kang Director Rad Don Sidinio, Regional Director sa Department of Agriculture 9 Zamboanga City. Janus Marketing, maligya sa spare parts sa sakyanan o motor parts sa inyong mga sakyanan sa ubos lamang nga presyo. Anamay matag sa Quezon Avenue ning dakbayan sa Dipolog. Daghang salamat nga to kang Janus Yu, owner proprietor. Matawagan sa telephone number 212-1148. GJ&P Fruit Nursery and Lumber Yard na maligya sa fruit seedlings, cucumbers sa uban pa sa ubos lamang nga presyo. Anamay matag sa Barangay Lingasad, lungsod sa Pulanco, Zamboanga del Norte ug dunay branch dinhi sa Barangay Galas ning dakbayan sa Dipolog. Congresswoman Glona G. Labad-Labad, thank you so much, member House of Representatives sa 2nd District Zamboanga del Norte. Petra Cement Incorporated, pinaagi kang Managing Director o stockholder Engineer Gilbert Cruz, anamay mutang sa Lower Erasan, Ruha, Zamboanga del Norte. Shrine City Food Terminal, operated by Cassava Growers Association of Dapitan City, na maligya sa cassava chips, banana crackers, ug uban pa. Anamay mutang sa ground floor, City Hall, sa dakbayan sa Dapitan o ingon man sa Dampa, dakbayan sa Dapitan. Congratulations na mabuhay ang Cassava Growers Association of Dapitan City nga nag-celebrate silang 6 years, no? 6 years nga anniversary. Pakita lang si Susan Empinado ang Livelihood Center in charge. And thank you so much nga to kang Mayor Evan Hope Buyet Olvis sa Pulanco, Zamboanga del Norte, Vice Mayor Alfredo Baitit, Presiding Officer sa Sangguniang Bayan sa lungsod sa Pulanco, Zamboanga del Norte, nga to kang Mayor Melody Hamora Tolin sa Salog, Zamboanga del Norte. Thank you so much. Mubalik siya end of this month, no? Bisita na to si Mayor Melody Tolin sa Salog. All the way from Oma County, Northern Ireland, thank you so much nga to kang Roger William King o Jennifer Agustin King. Thank you so much nga to kang ZNPPO Provincial Advisory Chairman, Engineer Roland Soliba. Kauban na to diri ron atong mga kuan, Engineer Soliba, naminaw ron. At the same time, siya may president sa Dipolog Chamber of Commerce and Industry, no? O daghang salamat usab nga to kang Ma'am Cecil Soliva. Happy viewing to Jaime and Vicky Caballero, James and Samantha Caballero, all the way from Ontario, Canada. Shout out to Lady Arefa sa Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Shout out also nga to kang King RD o Jennifer dito sa Doha, Qatar. We love you and God bless you. Atong i-greet pod no ang atong mga panelists nga dili na to igkita tungod sa quarantine. Good morning and happy Sunday to Attorney Ruben Ligorio, Board Member Ronilio Boyli, Attorney Roselier Matoy Barinaga, General Manager Alemarlo Dagpin sa Dapitan City Water District, Emmanuel Dalman Taghoy sa Philippine Information Agency, Edgar Soronda, Julio Salaviria, ang atong CPA panelist, tapos si YF Akas sa Philippine Ports Authority YF, nagpasalamat nimo si May Lopez og si Beth Ladaga sa NGCP sa imo ang pag-facilitate no sa nanguli nila nga mga parente ni May Lopez no. So thank you so much YF Aka sa Philippine Ports Authority. Dayon doon na tayo importante nga i-share no sa ato ang mga listeners o sa atong viewers karon sa nga naminaw nato og ingon man nag-view nato tibuok kalibutan ay kadyat lang ha. Good morning adto kang Engineer Marlo Magallanes og si Monique og iyang mga anak nga duha ka buok babies no nga puros Maria, Tris Maria siyang kauban karon buntag sa kanunay si Engineer Marlo Magallanes og si Monique uban sa ilang mga duha ka mga angels no. Naminaw nato diha sa Look Istaka si Marlo na ani sa Dapitan City Dipolog City Water District. Okay, so nihabol pa gyud og ingon man okay. Muna atong kuanay pahibalo nato alang sa nagsumbagay atong nga text og mga sa chat group gabi o karong buntag no. Atong gikahinabi si Attorney Peter Waiko, konsehal sa Dakbayan sa Dipolog at the same time board member diri sa atoang lalawigan Zamboanga del Norte kay siya president sa Board Members League no sa Zamboanga del Norte. Gi-confirm ni Attorney Peter Waiko nga doon na tay positive case na diri sa COVID-19 nga taga Santa Isabel katong gi-post ni Mayor Daryl Uy alauna kapin sa kadlawon nga official statement dito sa official gyud nga page no sa Dipolog City LGU. Tinuod ka to matud pa ni Attorney Peter Ko, konsehal Peter Ko. Siya may akong confirm kay ang mga opisyalis nga mga miyembro sa task force cannot be reached no kay mag-meeting daw karong buntag ang task force bahin ining niya nga duna na gyud tay positive case confirm no sa COVID-19 diri sa Dakbayan sa Dipolog nga diha sa Santa Isabel. Pero ato lang ning iampo kay 23 years old man ni siya nga babayi. So murag strong ra ning immune system. And in fact naka-quarantine na po ni siya karon. Kay ang ako ang ganina ang ako ang mga fears no og kuan sa ni Attorney Peter Ko akong gingon siya nga murag wala ko nito o daritso kay walay pirma ang official statement ni Mayor Daryl Uy although naka-post kini sa official page sa Dipolog City LGU. So ingon siya agi siguro pagdali-dali wala mapirmahe pero tinuod na nga nanay confirm case ang Dipolog City. So kitang tanan dili ta magpanik, kalmado lang kita, let us all be vigilant, follow strictly sa ato ang health protocols like hand washing, sa sanitizer o sa kaniniang sa alcohol, and then face mask all the time, dili magpatakag suroy-suroy, stay home para katong naang dili maglaag-laag, dili makakontak sa sakit no. So muna na ay ato ang panawagan o atong giawhag atong mga kauban sa media no nga ato lang manawagan lang pud kita to stay calm o stay at home sa atong mga kaigsuunan sa atong mga tawhan diri sa Dakbayan sa Dipolog. So magmeeting pa kuno karong buntag unsay mga kuan ani mga lakang nga himuon ang City Government of Dipolog kauban sa task force no. So matud pa diri karong buntag additional information gikan ni Attorney Peter Ko, konsehal naminaw siya karon, ingon siya talk to Mayor just now. Maulagi gabi na kaayo. But he said mo pagawas pud siya og official statement after IATF meeting karong buntag. So naay additional niya official statement no si Mayor Daryl Uy kay wala man gud mapirmahin niya ganina launa kapin sa kadlawon pagpagawas niya sa official statement. So stay calm, let us all be vigilant, tapos follow strictly sa health protocols, and most of all dili pataka og laag-laag. Labi na kato mga susceptible sa kanini ang sakit no kay nay mga sakit na daan nga gipangbati labi na katong mga seniors o mga minors, no? So mao ka natong panawagan og labaw sa tanan, mangadji kita sa labaw nga makagagahom. Okay. So thank you so much. Karon ato ang i-acknowledge ang paghiabot sa ato ang mga guests karong buntaga nga atong gituyo kini pag imbitar diri sa atong kapihan sa Dipolog para mahisgutan nato on the first part sa Philippine National Police sa ato ang Zamboanga del Norte Police Provincial Office, ang atong Provincial Director nga si Police Colonel Ronald T. Briones. Good morning, sir, and welcome back to Kapihan sa Dipolog.
Good morning po, and good morning po sa lahat ng nanonood at lahat ng
sir, paki-on lang sa red button. Red button. Yeah, okay. Hasta imo
umaga po sa
okay.
lahat at
Rewind.
magandang umaga din po sa mga nanonood at nakikinig.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Rewind.
Ulitin ko po, magandang umaga po sa lahat ng nakikinig at nanonood dito sa Kapihan sa Dipolog po. Once again, andito po tayo para magpaliwanag kung ano mga hindi natin naiintindihan at kung saka maipaabot din namin ang aming gustong ipaabot sa inyo dito sa lalawigan ng Zamboanga del Norte.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. No, i-greeted ako si Ma'am Charis Yabo ug sa iyaang pinalanggang bana nga si Sir Jonathan Yabo. Good morning to all ug si Sir Ruben Farcon. And we have also with us kini siya ato ning kauban, member ni sa Provincial Advisory Council representing the legal community, si Attorney Cres Palpagan Jr., CPA lawyer nga banggitan nga abogado. Ato ning gituyo og invite, no, so okay ni kanata nato kay sa Kapihan sa Dipolog, gawas nga ato ni siya ang kauban sa press club, president ang sauna, dayon maayo kani siya mo-explain ang mga controversial topics labi na sa legal, no, when it comes to legal matters. So aniya kauban nato karon si Attorney Cres Palpagan Jr. Good morning, sir, and welcome back to Kapihan sa Dipolog.
Thank you, Det, and good morning. Good morning to PNP Director Briones. Good morning to our listeners and to everybody. We hope that this morning we can give you a little of our clarifications on our stand and the legal implication of the
Padol-dol kuno ka sa microphone, sige, padol-dol na. Okay.
Anti-Terrorism Bill.
Okay.
Soon to become a law if it will be signed by President Duterte. So, all throughout the country, from Manila to the Visayas and Mindanao, everybody is alarmed with the impending passage or enactment or the signing that completes the process of legislation that this act or this matter will ultimately become a law and enforceable in our jurisdiction.
Okay. Thank you so much, Attorney Palpagan. First question of the day, kay wala pa may nang-text na to, no? Ngadto kang PD Briones. Kining anti-terrorism bill, sir, naka-focus manggod ang attention ani labi na sa mga antay, no? Nga dili ganahan ani nga mahimong balaod kay bill pam ni karon. Naka-focus sa attitude og sa mga nahimo bad or good sa police og sa military. While daghang good deeds ang police nga nahimo sa community where they are serving, but the truth of the matter is daghan kayo nga mga kapalpakan ang police nga nahimo against sa mga citizens nga ilang giserbisyuhan. So along this line, what do you think, sir? Is it sa inyong mga pulis, kinahanglan mo nga to be more relaxed, to be more kanang butang nato nga mura og patient, no, towards especially katong tuang manggirali, manggiprotesta na kay the first one of the kaning bill nga anti-terrorism bill naka-focus manggod sa pulis nga you are in a bad light karong mga COVID-19 tungod kay daghan kayo nang hitabo nga na-sensationalize pud sa media. Kay tinuod man pud mga tabo kay daghan go mga video karon. So, sir, your thoughts on this matter as the Provincial Director of ZNPPO?
Unang-una po, dito sa atin sa Zamboanga del Norte, to be particular po, yung kapulisan natin dito ay sabihin po natin mabait at sumusunod po sa batas. Napapasama lang po siguro sa portray ng iba ng media doon sa national na doon sa Luzon. However, dito po sa atin sa Mindanao, dito sa atin sa Zamboanga del Norte, nakikita naman po natin kung gaano sumunod sa batas ang mga pulis natin, kung paano ini-implement ang batas. So, dito po sa atin, nakita natin kung gaano kadisiplinado ang ating kapulisan. However po, hindi natin yan pinapabayaan. Always po, ginaguide natin through the chiefs of police, palagi natin nire-remind na sundin ang batas dahil tayong nag-implement and para wala silang makita o walang masilip na tayo ang nagpapasunod, tayo din ang violator. So, iniiwasan po natin yan and naiiwasan natin yan through the constant guidance po and directives na binibigay natin sa chiefs of police na in turn po, sila din ang nagre-remind sa ating kapulisan ng mga frontliners. So, doon po sa matters po na sinasabi natin sa Anti-Terrorism Bill, may ano naman po doon section, may ano naman doon na hindi basta-basta din po makakaabuso yung pulis dahil they could still be charged administratively and criminally. So, doon po sa proposed na Anti-Terrorism Bill, may safeguards pa rin po. And nakikita din doon at saka ipinaliwanag din doon na yung mga protests and rallies naman po is hindi naman po sakop. So wala pong problema, lalong-lalo na dito sa atin sa Zamboanga del Norte.
Okay. Thank you so much, no, PD. Arita ni Attorney Cres Palpagan para relate na to. Attorney, diha sa provisions anang bill, diha gimension ni PD katong to ang mga pulis dili basta-basta ra pod no nga makakuan sa mga mo protest mo maghimo og rally. But then again, naman ko diha sa nakakuan sa provision no sa atong research nga naay dihay warrantless arrest nga kato ag sa una nga 3 days lang nahimo na lang 14 days mahimo pang 21 days. Oo. So that's the most nga fear nga na encounter karon sa mga katubang mga dili po mingunta nga mga rebelde kundi nga gusto lang pud sila ba nga mo-express ilang freedom of speech and expression. After all, we are a democratic country. So, how about it, Attorney Cres Palpagan, sir?
Okay, madaghan kay itong pangutana hadit.
Sige.
Pero ato lang sa tagsaon.
Okay.
Okay.
Sa pulis ha, sa pulis kay na SPD.
Pulis. Unsa to? Atong usbon to warrantless. Hadlok sa warrantless. I wish to give you some preliminaries before getting into the meat of the controversy. Para unta masabtan pod.
Yes.
Siguro that before I answer your question, kay murag laktod to kayo. Ug sa eskwelahan pa to murag nanas high school, agi sa tag-elementary.
Atong capsulize man. Okay.
Di man na masabtan sa tao.
Oo.
And then the more people are injected with these principles that are shortcut, the more people are confused. You know, if people are confused, they create problems.
Yes.
There will be chaos. There will be anarchy.
Yes.
And we are only giving more problems to our law enforcers and the government. We are, instead of saving our hard-earned money, addressing the pandemic, ato na hinuong gitagaag na kong problema ang atong gobyerno, especially ang atong mga kapulisan o mga military personnel and then other concerned agencies nga maburden sila. And in so doing, there will be clashes. That's why the key here is understanding. We will not directly delve into the issue without discussing the preliminaries. Because delving into the issue will just create more problems than addressing problems and make up solutions. Alright. Siguro, magsugod ta. Kining terrorism is not new to us. This has been a subject matter of the Human Security Act. It was the former law and part of which was repealed, or rather is sought to be repealed by this new anti-terrorism bill Now, bill pag yun kaya wala pang
wala pang pirmahe.
And this seeks to abrogate or repeal the Human Security Act. Now, first, there is a problem of terrorism. We just would like to cite a few. The event known as the bombing of the World Trade Center. You know how quick it was. You know how pervasive it was. You know the monstrosity of the act and its very pervasive consequences. A split second, the entire infrastructure of the World Health Center.
World Trade Center.
World Trade Center, sorry, has gone to the grounds. Now, there is the problem. Then what is the response? This is the intended response. In my opinion, I see this law as a project, as a program. It is a response to a problem. In the country, we've been subjected to violence, rebellion, insurrection of all sorts. And this has been a lagging problem since the day I came to reason until now. The problem is still there. Lives have been lost. Properties have been lost, destroyed. Money has been spent. But the problem is still there. We are not addressing the problem. We are not solving the problem. Yet the problem has become so complicated because our local problem on violence is already connected to problems that are also arising worldwide. And this becomes so complicated that this problem on terrorism cannot be addressed by one country, by one nation, by one jurisdiction. Since the problem has been interconnected with all various jurisdictions throughout the world, then the program to address the problem has to be interconnected because that is necessary to confront the problem with other jurisdictions, with other nations around the world. So much so that we wish, all of us, that we will be victorious in the end. So I'm just underlining the monstrosity and infiniteness of the problem.
Okay.
At one strike, you can destroy critical infrastructure and you can bring a big infrastructure into rubbles. And you will leave people, thousands of lives, dead. Imagine a nuclear facility, a nuclear weapon will be capable of doing that.
Pero,
a chemical weapon will be capable of doing that.
Yes. In the Philippines, attorney, na-consider ba na to nga acts of terrorism ang nagtabo sa Zamboanga City, Zamboanga Siege, Ipil Siege, Marawi,
let's before going to specific. So I am just underlining the monstrosity and infiniteness of the problem. So what is our response? Our response is this law. Because this law, for one, defines what are the things that this law seeks to protect. Critical infrastructure. In order to give us an insight, what is this critical infrastructure that we seek to protect? Not just destruction of life, extinction of life, not as destruction of property in a local scene, but we have here critical infrastructure. Remember this. Now, critical infrastructure means an asset or system, whether physical or virtual, so essential to the maintenance of vital societal functions or to the delivery of essential public services, that the incapacity or destruction of such systems and assets would have a debilitating impact on national defense and security, national economy, public health or safety, administration of justice, and other functions analogous thereto. Just imagine, the internet infrastructure in the Philippines will bog down. How will you proceed with your transaction? banks, and other agencies. Just imagine a chemical weapon or a biological weapon is spread in the country at a split of a second. Then you can just imagine the effect. That's why the law here, as a matter of response, number one, provides the so-called extraterritoriality by application. Okay, I make a contrast. Our simple criminal law system, provided by the revised penal code, a common general law, and all those laws provided by special laws.
Okay.
There is such a thing in criminal law that says we subscribe and we adhere that criminal law or our penal laws will only be applicable and enforced within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines. But this law, the Anti-Terrorism law now, or bill now, proposed law, has defied that territoriality principle. There is a provision on extraterritorial.
Meaning to say, it goes beyond the Philippines.
Even if the
dito
crime
sa US na hitabo
is committed
related
outside
sa
the country
Philippines.
and it affects the country, it is still a crime in the Philippines. So, that is
taas kayo ang concern daon.
Yes. And there is an international link by this law with other agencies throughout the world in addressing the problem of terrorism.
Okay.
So that's why we have this response.
Okay.
Now,
sige.
we can go to specific.
Okay.
You say, first, warrantless
arrest.
Well, this is not new. It has been a provision of the rules of court pronounced by no less than the Supreme Court. Even before I was born, there is a provision, and now it is integrated under Rule 113, Section 5 of the Rules of Court on warrantless arrest.
Okay.
So even an ordinary person without a warrant, if the crime is in your presence, committed, about to be committed, or has just been committed in your presence, you can effect a warrantless arrest. And that is valid because that is provided under the rules. And even if not in your presence, but it is committed and you have probable cause established by personal knowledge that the crime has been committed by that person, you can effect warrantless arrest. So there is no question with warrantless arrest because it's already there. And we are not protesting on the provision of warrantless arrest ever since. It is just that it is magnified in the protest against this law. So protesting on warrantless arrest is of tangent. But you know, this is the issue. The issue is the law enforcement officers in the military can effect an arrest upon the authority of the ATC. So, it is the phrase, upon the authority of the ATC.
Kinsa man ang ATC?
Now, wait.
Sige.
ATC is Anti-Terrorism Council.
Okay.
It's provided under this law,
Yes.
Anti-Terrorism Council. All right. So, let me explain. They say, all those publications in the internet, in the newspaper, they say that the ATC now assumes the power of a judge. Because that authority given to the law enforcement agencies and the military to conduct arrest and detention is already a warrant issued by the ATC, which is against the Constitution. Because the Constitution says in the Bill of Rights, only the judge, upon a finding of probable cause, can issue warrant of arrest.
Okay. Atong, sir, kajut lang. Basahon na to for the benefit of our listeners and viewers. Kinsa ang mga members sa Anti-Terrorism Council? The adere, Executive Secretary as Chairperson, Secretary of Justice as Vice Chairperson, Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Secretary of National Defense, Secretary of the Interior and Local Government, Secretary of Finance, and the National Security Advisor. Mao na sila ga-constitute sa Anti-Terrorism Council. So, sir?
Oh,
Okay.
you have questions?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, unsa man nga composition from the government side, no?
Okay, let
Okay.
let me explain this. Now let's go back to where I ended. I
Sige.
said
Si PD naminaw kayo.
this is a global affair.
Okay.
It is a global response
Mm.
that our jurisdiction, the Philippine government, should be interconnected with other jurisdictions to make an effective global response.
Mm.
Because the problem is global
Mm.
in nature.
Mm.
Because we have such a thing as international terrorists.
Mm.
So global response.
Okay.
So when you say global response, the Philippines is represented by who?
By
Of course, your
President.
government.
Yes.
And who represents the government of the Republic? Of course, the executive branch.
Yes. The
Therefore, the members of the council should be coming from the executive.
From the government.
Because it is the representative of our country
Mm.
that links with other
Other
jurisdictions.
countries. Yes.
If you go to the US, you go to other jurisdictions, the same.
Yes.
It's still the executive department. That's the duty of the executive department. And the law says, for this matter, that the implementation of this law shall be with the ATC.
Mm.
Practically, if you read the provision on ATC, all agencies are members.
Mm.
There are support agencies that are also members.
Mm.
A number of them, more than the first set of members.
Mm.
So that's the justification. Why it has to be with the ATC. Can you imagine if that terrorism law will be delegated to the barangay? How do you imagine that?
Pero localized siguro.
That's why, no, it's not localized. How can you connect a local jurisdiction with international subjects or persons? So, I mean, that's logic, simple logic. So it has to be with the executive branch because the executive branch leads the government as against the legislative and the judiciary. There are three branches, we know that. But what
Executive,
implements?
judiciary,
Executive.
and
We know that.
legislative.
That's simple. That's constitutional. Everybody knows it. So it has to be ATC. So the law says, this proposed law has to be implemented by the ATC. Okay. Now, when the ATC is given the power to implement, then the ATC authorizes who? Of course, not the CSDF. Of course, not the Barangay Tanod. The ATC will authorize what? The military and the law enforcement officers, the PNP, in order to execute and implement. Of course, Mildardia will not come to our jurisdiction and then execute the law. Of course, your Justice Secretary will not come here and then enforce the law. We have the military arm. We have the law enforcers. We have the PNP. And we have the military. Well, the function is just the same. That's how they function ever since, even before this law. So the same, there's nothing new with the functioning. So they have to be authorized. Now, in the course of implementing this law as authorized by the ATC for that very specific purpose, they find circumstances that will fall within Section 5, Rule 103. Warrantless arrest. Can they not arrest? They can. Is there a warrant of arrest? No, sir. And remember, this law says that the ATC has no judicial or quasi-judicial powers. Therefore, it cannot be a judge. Therefore, it cannot fall within the constitutional prescription that only the judge can issue the warrant of arrest.
Under normal circumstances.
No, not normal. Because warrantless is also normal. There are two ways. If a criminal commits the crime in your presence, warrantless. If the criminal commits a crime, not in your presence, you cannot arrest him. You file the necessary complaint with the prosecutor's office.
Yes.
And then conduct preliminary investigation. Information is filed in court. The judge issues the warrant, and he will be arrested. That's the normal order. Everything is just the same. Okay. There's nothing new. So there's nothing to say. Now, what they're saying is that the ATC becomes a judge issuing an order to arrest. Of course, it is not an order to arrest. It is an approval. It is a directive for a law enforcement officer to implement this. You know why? Because not all parts of the country, not all parts are victims of terrorism. Only few parts. And like law enforcers and the military, they have their territorial jurisdictions also. One will operate in Region 1 and so on and so forth. Region 2, Region 9, Region 10, and so on and so forth. So what if the problem is in Region 9? So you can only imagine. The ATC will authorize Region 9 PNP and Region 9 military. Do your job under the law. In the course of doing their job, as members of the military and the enforcers, there is a situation or circumstance that will warrant warrantless arrests under Section 5, Rule 113. Will they not arrest? Of course they will. But are they now prohibited from arresting if there is a warrant of arrest? Of course not. So if there are crimes committed in relation to this, and not in the presence of persons, then they file the necessary complaint with the proper prosecutor's office for the conduct of preliminary investigation. We are doing that almost every day. And if the judge finds probable cause, issues the warrant, and they serve the warrant. Just like this. Just like the SAP 44. You look at that. They are enforcing the warrant. But then all of them were, sad to say.
How is it, sir? Siguro, wala kasabot kayo ang mga tao.
Sometimes,
because, kana morabag haphazard ang pagpasar aning balaod
no.
Wala ma-explain.
No. This is one of the best laws I have seen. This is
kaya
one of the...
Kaya daghan man ang ni-oppose ani
of course, you cannot measure the strength and validity and the beauty of the law.
Ang focus po sa the mistrust towards the police and the military.
Whether without this law or there is this law, mistrust is always a mistrust. That's why they are working heaven and earth, exerting all efforts to regain the trust and confidence of the people. Just like what our good director has been is saying a while ago, that they are thanking the people of Zamboanga Norte, so cooperative. Therefore, it is a manifestation, express manifestation, that the people of Zamboanga Norte has full reliance and trust on the PNP in the region or in the province. So it's just like that. So you cannot argue against the law because of mistrust. Are you saying we will not pass laws because there is mistrust? You reform the administration, you reform the organization. That's how you do it. You professionalize the institution. That's how you do it. Okay?
Yes.
And so, what do you want? So that the trust will revert back to the institution. What do you want? Say, this is what we want, this is what we want. We follow that. And those who will violate will be brought to justice. Are we not doing that? We're doing that. There are so many policemen, even still in service, that are facing cases. And that's how our justice system is working. That is not a reason for you to mistrust our law enforcers.
Okay.
In fact, we pity them.
Yes.
Because they are risking their lives. They're risking their lives. Risking their lives, protecting, securing our freedom, our security, so that we can function like this. Without them, we cannot function like this. We will not be free. So we thank them because there are those among us who have the love, the patriotism for us and our country. So it's I don't share the observation that it's a question of trust. You cannot even trust your parents if you have to. And so, because of that distrust, it's not that he is no longer your parent.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Kanang red tagging.
Red tagging.
Yes.
Okay.
Sa nga ang mga aktivista ipang red tag nga mga rebelde, then i-connect dayon nga kuno sila mga membro na dayon sa terrorism nga group. Kay mo man ay ilaan sa mga antay, mo man ay ilaa pong mga opinion pod nila nga ila pong gipang pagawas.
That is an irresponsible conclusion. I tell you. Let's interpret the law professionally. Let's interpret the law according to the intent of the law. So, if you view anything negatively, everything will be negative.
Correct.
If you view a thing positively, it will be positive. You know, a person who is negative is having a problem for every solution. Okay?
Yes.
And everything they look at a situation as a problem. Even if you give a solution, still the solution is the problem. So, I mean, that's beside the point. That will not be the basis for our discussion here.
Yes.
All right. Red tagging. There are 3 instances in the law. So that everybody should know.
Okay, daghan mo sympathizers good kuno.
Okay, let me explain. First, the resolution of the United Nations Security Council. There is a resolution in effect about the United Nations Security Council determining and designating foreign terrorists. Designating a certain person or a group of person or an organization as foreign terrorists. Under this law, we adopt that. There is such a thing as doctrine of incorporation or adoption of the UN Security Council resolution. Why will we adopt it? Why? Because as I said, terrorism is global. They are interconnected globally. So our response will also be global so that we can fight them in all fronts. If we are left behind, terrorism is done in the Philippines, how can you expect other countries to help us? Because we are the weakest link. So it has the solution has to be global, interconnected. All right, second. First is adoption of the UN Security Council resolution on organizations designated as terrorist organizations or persons designated as terrorist persons. Second is the request for designation. A foreign jurisdiction, a foreign country may come to the Philippines and make a request that this organization operating in their place or worldwide or wherever shall be in the Philippines be designated as a terrorist person or a terrorist organization. Request. Now, what is the law says? Our response will be, if the criteria is similar to the criteria of designation used by the UN Security Council in that resolution, then we will grant the request. Third is the most controversial. Third is when the ATC designates a certain organization or person to be terrorist. ATC.
Conclusive na.
Anti-Terrorism
Council. Conclusive.
It can designate. But what are the requirements for its designation? There has to be probable cause. So, probable cause is the standard, even in issuing a warrant of arrest by the judge. So, upon a finding of probable cause, that is a question of evidence. Upon a finding of probable cause, that particular person or organization may be designated as a terrorist person or organization.
So you are saying nga kini
So it is wrong to say that if you march there on the streets in a rally, you will be tagged
as terrorist.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
Sa mo man mga fears. So you are saying nga kini mga leftist organizations, mga party list organizations nga appeal man gani karon sa ato ang legislative sa House of Representatives, elected sila ana. You're saying they have nothing to fear ani nga bill when it comes to law, it becomes law kay dili sila covered ani kanang gitawag na red tagging kay sila mismo na daan mga aktivista o uban pa katong tuwa nga mga maingon dayon nga gigamit og politika, gipamulitika, gi-red tag siya kay kontra partido, kontra sa politika, gihimo siyang terrorist.
Okay, the law itself as
fears nila.
As we have said, the law itself has its own safeguards. One of which is found in the last part of section 4 of this bill. What does it say? It says, provided that terrorism as defined in this section shall not include advocacy protest.
Okay.
Shall not include advocacy protest. Advocacy is not tagging. Protest, dissent, stoppage of work, industrial or mass action, and other similar exercises of civil and political rights.
Okay.
When you have a rally, that's political.
Political.
Exercise of political right. that is not terrorism. That is saved in this provision. This is saving clause, which are not intended to cause death or serious harm to a person, to endanger a person's life, or to create a serious risk to public safety. Of course not. Of course not. So, that is taken away. You can march every day if you want. That is the assurance and promise of Duterte. You can march every day. You can rally every day. You can do it, provided you follow the rules. Like we are in the pandemic, you have to wear mask. And then you have to sanitize yourself. And then
social distancing.
But you are arrested not because of this law, not because you are an opposition, not because, but you are violating the protocol of the IETF.
So katong sa Cebu nga nahitabo sa UP, it's because of the pandemic nga health protocols. Dili to sila nga tungod kay nagrally sila, nagprotesta sila ng anti-terrorism bill, mo to silang gipangdakop. Kay mo na misconstrued sa general public.
That's right. So the law itself expressly provides a safety net. So if you're conducting a rally, is there a tendency to create fear, serious risk to public safety? Of course not. It will not create that. It cannot reach that magnitude. And so, that cannot qualify as terrorism. And remember, that probable cause by the ATC. Who are the members of the ATC? So many. And a lot of them are lawyers. All of them know probable cause. And the finding, that is not permanent. A designation is not permanent.
Okay.
At any time, you can question the designation. Courts are open. You can go to the Supreme Court and question the designation. You can present your evidence. You can present your side that you should not be designated. And even if you are designated, time will come that the risk ceases. Then the designation will be lifted. So it is just to address an emergency.
Okay. Before ta sa part 2 na to, kay atong dabu-dabuhan na po pangutana si PD diri, kay accomplishment niya sa COVID-19 ug unsay nahimo sa kapulisan karon parang pangutana, dayon ato pong ipaungong ang pangutana dugang pod ni Atty. Cres Palpagan ining Anti-Terrorism bill, no? Number 1 question, attorney, gikan ni Julio Salaveria, tong CPA panelist. Matud pa niya, good day, guests and kapihan sa Dipolog family. Question to Atty. Palpagan. In our democratic system, can the Supreme Court declare unconstitutional a law in its totality if challenged or just certain provisions? Ano pangutana ni Julius?
Yes, of course.
Ikaduhang pangutana para ni Atty. Cres nga kanini ang pag dinalian matud pa nila pagpasar gikan sa lower payon sa upper house anini ang anti-terrorism bill nga sa Senate gi-author ni Senator Tito Soto. Di ba kuno ni siya wrong timing? Tungod kay nagkuanta problema na to ang COVID-19. Unya gi-prioritize ni ang balaod bahin sa anti-terrorism bill.
No, I don't think.
Unya na nani mo tubagon.
Sige. Okay.
So, excited much. Dayon ang ikatulo nga pangutana, attorney, katong 3 days nga dito sa warrantless arrest, then maabot og 14 dias without any complaints on the part of the poor nga dakpon lag kalit kay warrantless arrest o unsay mga kuan kay that will be proven pa pod in court, no? Og tinuod ba ngano man nga naman jay specific day kanang 14 days. Unsay may tabo ng 14 days nga og dili makakuha og walay kaso pa ang individual nga gidakop then tapos natanggong na siya og 14 dias na siyang napriso.
Okay, very good.
So tubagon na nimo later and other things. Pero diri ni PD Briones ang atong pangutana karon sa atong pandemic unsa man ang atong ingon nato, no, nga in totality unsa ang kaimportante ang kapulisan panahon sa COVID-19. So, gikan sa inyo ang pagkandak sa mga checkpoints, hangtod sa kinini ang pagpauli karon sa mga locally stranded individuals nga kamo man gyud ang pangayuan og authority to travel ang police, no? So usap po nas pangutana nga ngano man og kinahanglan man nga authority to travel gikan sa police. Siguro enough naman ng health certificate gikan sa doktor nga fit ka, nakaswab ka og uban pa kay health pandemic man ni. Nya ngano ang authority to travel to man sa police kwaon. Mo po ni pangutana pod nila, no? Is it ba nga pagmonitor sa movement or restrictions na sa individuals, no? And aside from that, sa ato ang kahimtang karon kay pirabuyag lang peaceful ron pod atong province, no? Unsa may sa insurgency problem kay naka-establish naman tato mga ilkak ug uban pa. Kumusta man ato ang pagpadayon sa ato ang katong EO 70 whole nation approach kay lately lang do naman toy ambush tong dito sa Leon Postigo ganito sa 97th IB nga na kuantong to at tagasiayan to mong rebuilding nga, di ba? Iniwanan ng mga kasama nila tapos ang pulis mismo, ang mga sundalo mismo ang nagdala doon sa ospital sa yung rebuilding na naiwan. So all this and more siguro masagot ninyo after the commercial break at saka iba pa natin na mga topics, no, na i-discuss sa Kapihan sa Dipolog part 2 sa ating Kapihan sa Dipolog. Kay kabaluta kining Anti-Terrorism bill daan, very controversial and very lisod kayo ang pagsabot ani dili jud ka makabalo sa pagkuan sa pagbalaod. Siguro mga lawyers dali ra kayo pero sa ordinary citizens naagi na ang fear anang naa. Labi na kanang katuto abang nga mahilig pod nga mo appeal og mga rally-rally ana kay kuan pod sila sang mahilig sa aksyon, no? So muna na atong hisgotan human sa commercial break sa atong Kapihan sa Dipolog. So thank you so much ngadto kang Vice Governor Senen Olvis Angeles, Presiding Officer sa Sangguniang Palaluigan Zamboanga del Norte, National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, pinaagi kang Elizabeth Ladaga, dunay Mindanao Visayas Interconnection Project na diha sa Tagulo, Dapitan City ang cable terminal station. Dahil salamat kadto kang Dr. Ruth M. Brillantes, Board Member, 3rd District Zamboanga del Norte, Chair Committee on Health, Sanitation and Human Settlement, Director Radon Silinio, Regional Director, Department of Agriculture 9, Zamboanga City, Janus Marketing na maligya sa spare parts sa inyong mga sakyanan og motor parts sa ubos lang mga presyo ana may matang sa Quezon Avenue ning Dakbayan sa Dipolog. Janus U, Owner Proprietor, matawagan sa telephone number 212-1148. JJ&P Fruit Nursery and Lumberyard, maligya sa fruit seedlings, kukulamber sa uban pa, sa ubos lang mga presyo. Anamay matang sa Barangay Lingasan, lungsod sa Pulangco, Zamboanga del Norte, og branch, anaa sa Barangay Galas ning Dakbayan sa Dipolog. Congresswoman Glona Labad-Labad, Member House of Representatives sa 2nd District, Zamboanga del Norte, Petra Cement Incorporated, pinaagi kang Engineer Gilbert Cruz sa Lower Orasan, Rojas, Zamboanga del Norte. Shrine City Food Terminal operated by Cassava Growers Association of Dapitan City. Congratulations ninyo, ika 6 years karon sa Kagapa. Pinaagi kang Susan Empinado ang Livelihood Center in charge. And thank you so much nga to kang Mayor Evan Hope Puyet Olvis sa Pulangco, Zamboanga del Norte. Vice Mayor Alfredo Baitit, Presiding Officer sa Sangguniang Bayan sa lungsod sa Pulangco, Zamboanga del Norte. Mayor Melody Hamura Tolin sa Salog, Zamboanga del Norte. Dayon Roger William King and Jennifer Agustin King sa Oma County, Northern Ireland. Hotel Camila 1, Management and Staff, pinaagi kang Manager Gold Fabriga. Ang ato ang chairman sa ZNPPO Provincial Advisory Council nga si Engineer Roland Soliva. At the same time, si Engineer Roland Soliva ang President sa Dipolog Chamber of Commerce and Industry og ang ingon man sa iyaang anyag og buotan nga si Ma'am Cecil Soliva yang asawa. Happy viewing ato kang Jaime and Vicky Caballero, James og Samantha Caballero sa Ontario, Canada. Shout out to Lady Aretha sa Toronto, Ontario, Canada. King RD og Jennifer tumong sa Doha, Qatar. We love you and God bless you all. Akong Ingrid ang naminaw karong buntaga. Si Miriam Tenorio, si Jaime, yung mga anak, tapos si Tess Bergado de Jesus, si Jocelyn Hisulga de Saturno, tapos si Crisel Gahit Kahitela sa Mucha, no? Zamboanga del Norte. Dayon wala na birthdays, no? Og ato adeng Philippine Independence Day gi-celebrate tibuok Pilipinas, tibuok kalibutan last June 12, 2020 Friday, no? So mabuhay ang ato ang nasod nga Pilipinas. So muna ang ato ang mga nagdalag kinabuhi sa ato ang kapihan sa Dipolog matag Domingo nga tanan. Text lang kinsa atong tuang wa nako makuanhan, nalimtan nako og great, palihog lang, text lang. Si Engineer Leoncito Manuel, ang branch manager sa Government Service Insurance System kon GSIS. Si Hilbert, kadyot lang ha. Unsa to apelyido ni Hilbert? Nalimtan ako apelyido ni Hilbert. Anak ni Jill. Nga nag-text po nako. Sorry kayo Hilbert, nalimot ko si apelyido. Okay, so balik kita sa ang kapihan sa Dipolog, part 2 sa itong discussion, karubutaga, about the accomplishments of ZNPPO through the leadership of Police Colonel Ronald Briones, and of course the Anti-Terrorism Bill nga mao'y gikagubdan karon sa ato ang nasod nga Pilipinas through sa mga public opinions, no, nga mao'y hot topic karong panahon na. So ariyo na kita kang Colonel Ronald Briones bahin sa accomplishment sa ZNPPO amid the pandemic, no, COVID-19, sa inyong pagpahaluna sa inyong mga frontliners ato sa mga checkpoints along the way tibuok Laluigan, Zamboanga del Norte, Colonel, o including mga good deeds. Okay.
Una po, isa accomplishment natin sa COVID-19 sa buong from March until this yesterday po, we have a total number of operations po na 127, and we have arrested 75. We have conducted operations on curfew, about 75 po yun. Then operations on liquor ban, 17. We have also arrested persons on social distancing. We have 5 operations. Then sa hoarding naman po, in coordination with the CIDG, we have 1. Then sa overpricing, again with CIDG, we have 2. Sa no face mask po, 22 operations. Sa disobedience po, 3. Then ignoring checkpoint po is 7 with a total of 127. Lahat po yan i-enforce natin kapulisan, and without naman po violent resistance naman po in the part of the violators.
Okay. And then good deeds na to, sir, kay nakabantay man ko sa mga posting sa ato ang mga municipal police stations. Na libre sakay katong adapt a family ninyo program sa to?
Opo.
Yes. Go ahead, sir.
Sa naman po, we especially commend po yung Shayan Municipal Police Station for their good deeds po, dahil talaga pong gumawa sila ng programa na kung saan po binibili nila yung mga produkto para ipamigay doon sa mga less fortunate na mga
yung
pamilya.
Local produce sa Shayan,
yung local produce po na mga agricultural products.
Oh, that's good.
Yun po binibili nila. Then out of their pockets, binibigay po nila sa mga less fortunate din po doon sa families, less fortunate families doon din po sa Shayan. And hindi lang po ang Shayan, lahat po ng police stations natin may program yung Kapwa Ko Sagot Ko, na kung saan po may mga pamilyang inadap po na hindi lang po isahan lang nabigyan, kundi minomonitor po nila at binibigyan ng sustenance po hanggang maka-survive po itong pandemic na to.
Hindi lang one time yun.
Opo, ang program natin is good. Hindi lang po one time, hindi lang isahan lang, kundi
yung family na inadapt nila throughout the pandemic period.
Opo.
Opo. Congratulations. Okay, that's good.
And doon naman po sa libreng sakay program, tuloy-tuloy pa rin po yun, pero we still observe social distancing po. Kasi po baka mapansin na naman tayo na kung magpasakay tayo ng sobra, instead na nakatulong tayo, nakapirwisyo pa.
Yes. So, yung libreng sakay ba, sir, anybody can avail of that program? Or yung madaanan lang sa service ninyo along the way?
Ano po, yun po ang madaanan. And pwede din pong mag-approach sa station
Mag-request.
kung wala pong masakyan. Ihahatid po nating patrol cars. Pero we will still observe social distancing. Hindi po lahat ng lalong-lalo na po ngayon na inaalaw naman po yung public transport natin.
Yes.
Siguro yung every sakay natin is doon lang po sa talagang walang-wala po talaga.
Yes. And within the province only.
Opo.
It's
And
not
within the
outside
province
the
po.
province. Within the province only.
True po, within the province lang po. We
Yes.
cannot have the libreng sakay outside the province because
Yes.
meron din po sila doon sa kanilang probinsya.
Yeah. And meron ba tayong gasolina dyan para sa libreng sakay? Kasi baka yung iba malayo ang pupuntahan from end to end dito within the province of Zamboanga del Norte. So how do you go about it?
We have the support of the LGU po. Ang mga
okay.
LGU naman natin po ay mga very supportive naman po. Halos walang LGU na hindi nagsusupport sa pulis natin dito sa Zamboanga del Norte. So pagdating po sa gasolina, meron kami dyan allocated sa aming MOE,
Yes.
meron pa din pong support yung mga LGU natin. So wala po tayong problema sa gasolina po.
Okay. Speaking of the frontliners sa checkpoints, sir. So, okay ba yung pag-conduct ng mga checkpoints? Walang problema? At saka wala namang iniindang sakit yung mga pulis na kasama doon sa frontliners?
Sa ngayon po, wala po tayong na-monitor pa at wala pong nagreklamo
thank
na
God.
may sakit na sila. And we always see to it po na every 15 days po nakakapahinga sila and naka-quarantine din sila. After 15 days po, pabalik sila doon. And until now po, wala pong kaming na-monitor o nagreklamo may iniinda na pong sakit. So, siguro isa din po yan sa mga natin, good practices na talagang palagi po natin silang nire-remind na gumamit po ng PPE.
And also, sir, yung kasi restricted ang mga movements, no? At saka thank God na lang tayo kasi ngayon lang tayo nagka-positive, no? Sa latest information. Pero yung mga tauhan ninyo, okay ba? Hindi tayo undermanned na kasi baka nakafocus lang tayo sa pandemic, yung insurgency, yung mga lawless elements, wala na tayo doon.
Yung may allocated portion lang po tayo para sa checkpoints natin. And sa nakikita naman po natin, meron na lang po tayong 5 boundary checkpoints na unlike po before na talagang per municipality mo nagkakaroon tayo ng checkpoints. Pero ngayon po medyo less na ang burden sa pag-checkpoint, although andyan pa rin po, strict pa rin tayo. And yun nga po dahil kukunti na lang ang concerns natin sa checkpoint, nabibigyan pansin pa rin po natin yung insurgency and other criminalities po.
Okay. And regarding continuity of the performance of our policemen, meron ba kayong rigo doon? Meron ba kayong transfer sa mga tauhan natin sa kanilang station? Like, for example, Chief of Police of Polanco will be transferred to the municipality of Sindangan during this time? Kasi sa region, iba na, di ba? Bago na ang regional director. So, dito sa local, walang movement.
Sa ngayon po dito sa atin po, wala pong movement. May isa o dalawang movement lang po tayo dahil po yung Chief of Police po ng Serious Minya is na-transfer na po sa Sibugay. And kailangan po natin maglagay doon ng bagong Chief of Police. And so also po yung sa Labason naman po, yung Chief of Police doon is promotable po. Inilipat na natin sa probinsya, sa provincial office, because kung hindi po siya ililipat, hindi rin po siya mapopromote dahil yung promotion po, yung ranggo niya, kailangan pumunta siya sa provincial office para makuha niya yung next rank niya. And yan lang po ang natin, ang movement natin sa ngayon. And speaking naman po doon sa region, nagkaroon po ng-movement dahil po yung ating outgoing regional director na si General Kidilla is will be retiring po on July. So in preparations po, siguro yun ang isa sa request niya rin ng ating outgoing regional director to prepare himself na umalis na muna siya dito para makapag-prepare sa kanyang retirement. And may bago naman po tayong regional director in the person of Police Brigadier General Jesus Cambay Jr.
Okay.
So nag-turn over po nung June 9 po.
Taga saan po siya?
Taga Norte po. Sa Luzon po. Sa
Luzon.
Cordillera po.
Okay. So, sir, during this time wherein you are assigned here in Zamboanga del Norte and your family is in Luzon, no?
Yes po.
Okay. So, wala pa kayo kabisita kay quarantine mo po kayo inigbalik.
Wala po. At mahirap din po magbiyahe po.
Yeah. And then, how do you find a place na hindi ka nakabisita sa iyong pamilya tapos dito ka lang naka-assign pero medyo okay lang.
Okay lang po dahil po sa ating technology ngayon po may Viber naman po at saka may video call naman po. So hindi na po masyado problema po 'yon. And namomonitor na rin po natin yung members ng family kung nasaan sila, kung anong ginagawa nila. And araw-araw na po ganun po.
Okay. Before ni Attorney Palpagan, yung bad eggs in the police force, meron pa ba tayo dito na nakakasuhan like sa drugs or sa anong ibang mga kaso against the police na under you?
Sa ngayon po wala na po tayong major incidents or kamalian ng pulis. Ang na lang po natin yun is mga minor infractions of discipline na lang po, internal discipline. And we are addressing it po. Meron pa rin po tayo nakakasuhan ng mga pulis pero minor infractions na lang po or internal breach of discipline na lang. Halimbawa po na late or hindi nakapag-attend or hindi nakapag attend sa court hearing, yan na lang po ang natin. And sabi pa nga sa amin po sa PNP, malaking kasalanan po pag hindi nakapag-attend sa court hearing, lalong-lalo na po kung tungkol sa droga.
Yes. And how about recruitment of the police? Is it ongoing? Kasi na-stop yun dahil sa COVID.
Ongoing po. Actually po, meron din memorandum sa amin na inaalaw po or sinasabihan ng ating mga boundary control points na i-allow ang mga applicants to process o dumaan sa control points natin to process their recruitment.
Like for example, if they will go to Zamboanga City or Pagadian City to comply with their requirements,
they will be allowed po sa ating boundary control points po as long as they present their papers po.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, PD Briones.
And hindi lang po yan, meron po tayo, i-addition ko na rin po, meron po tayong dito na FTPs or yung mga bagong pulis natin na nag-undergo ng training. Sa ngayon po, they are almost 2 weeks na doon sa ating kampo sa Sikayab na ang ginawa po natin, kinarantin po muna natin sila dahil po galing po sila sa Zamboanga City. And pagtapos po ng kanilang 14 days quarantine, we will make it sure po na we will deploy them in Dipolog City and Dapitan to undergo their program.
Okay. Before they will be assigned to other places?
Before they will graduate po. That is a 6 months program po na kung saan they will be observing the real McCoy, kung anong nangyayari sa labas. May mga FTOs din po sila. So, yung FTP po is Field Training Program. Yung FTOs naman po is Field Training Officers na who will guide those
mga recruits.
Kung paano ang magpatrolya, paano maging pulis sa lalong-lalo na sa ating mga municipalities and cities.
Okay. Thank you so much, no, PD. Okay. Dirita sa atong dabudubuhan o pangutan na si Attorney Cres Palpagan nga ang question.
Can the Supreme
In
Court
our democratic system, can the Supreme Court declare unconstitutional a law in its totality if challenged or just certain provisions?
Okay. Ito bagong date, no?
Sige.
Well, it is well enshrined in our laws and jurisdiction. It has been practiced ever since until the present. The Supreme Court has the power to declare the entire legislation, the entire law, unconstitutional or only a part thereof. Because in a law, there is such a thing as separability clause.
Separability clause.
It says that when a part of this piece of legislation is declared unconstitutional, the other parts will stand to be valid. So only the portion unconstitutional that is rejected, but the other portions of the law that are not touched by the Supreme Court are valid. So yes, the answer is yes, the Supreme Court can do it perfectly within its powers to declare a law in its totality unconstitutional or partially constitutional and partially unconstitutional. Why? Because when the Supreme Court does it, the Supreme Court is upholding the superiority of the Philippine Constitution over all kinds and forms of legislation.
Okay.
So, all right. Yes.
So, makontest sa Supreme Court.
Yes. Anytime they can contest.
Ang
Anybody.
ila apong kuan is apprehension is dili gihapon kuno hold water kay ang mga appointees sa president pa po kuno. Comment.
Well, ever since members of the Supreme Court are always appointed by the president. Who will appoint? Is it the Baray Captain who appoints the justice of the Supreme Court? It's by law. It's part of the Constitution. So you are saying that the Constitution does not work if the Constitution is questionable, if it ran against what you want. No, it's not. So it's the Constitution that provides that it is the president. And so, if you adhere to the Constitution, you adhere also to the appointment of the president. That's not a question anymore. Otherwise, there is no end to argument. So it's the Constitution that says that the president will appoint the members of the Supreme Court, even judges of inferior courts. It's appointed by the president. And so, if you adhere by the Constitution that says so, then you have to adhere.
Yes.
The Constitution working in our system. Okay? So that's not a proper question. All right, second question, timing of the bill. Well, this 2020 Anti-Terrorism bill to be signed into law is just an amendatory piece of legislation of the 2007 Human Security Act.
Yes.
Now,
pero anong 2007? Why of all the time karon mga nagka-COVID karon man po nagipalusot na ang anti-terrorism bill?
No, I am trying to emphasize that even before 2007, the framework of having this law was already there, and it continued when it was implemented. And there are points that need to be strengthened. So the process is continuing.
Okay.
Such that 2007 law, Human Security Act, is a failure, is lacking. The problems are accumulating to an extent that we almost become a failed state. So there has to be a remedial measure. If we address health problems, we also have to address security problems. If we address health problems that will kill us little by little, security problem can kill us at the wink of an eye, all of us. So this is more pressing, even, and it has transcendental importance over other problems.
Okay.
Because this relates to our security, our existence as a people. So I think the timing is out of question. Another thing, why is it that ever since, even before the 2007 Human Security Act, there has been prevailing violence, rebellion, etc. in the Philippines? Until now, it's accumulating and it's becoming very complicated. Why? Number one is the source of funds. How can these groups work without funds? So there must be enormous amount of money supporting these activities. If you go by our national budget, how much is the Philippine government appropriating for the budget para sa military? Appropriating budget para sa atong PNP, dako kayo. If these people will operate such as our military or PNP, then they must have those funds as big as our PNP and the military. Now, where are these funds coming from? That is one of the reasons why this law has to be strengthened. Because we use AMLA We use AMLA to track sources of funds and the flow of funds.
Anti-Money Laundering Act.
Yes, AMLA, Anti-Money Laundering Act or Anti-Money Laundering Council. So this will track the source of funds and how funds are being channeled and being used. Before you know it, these enormous funds presented as a donation or whatever, but they are channeled.
Money laundering.
As legal budgets, but they are channeled to unlawful organization. And so we need the AMLA here so that the source of funds funding unlawful organizations will be stopped. And if it stops, then of course they cannot operate. And so we will be happy and peaceful. So that is very urgent.
Okay.
Wait. If we have the so-called SAP, Social Amelioration
Fund
program, wherein the government is slashing billions of people paying or giving money aid to these victims or this prejudiced by this pandemic, by this lockdown, with more reason that we will stop the flow of money to illegal activities. And this is addressed in this law.
Okay.
That's why timing for me is not a question.
Okay. Which brings me to my previous question earlier. Nga katong nahitawa Marawi seeds, sa mga city seeds, ipil seeds, katong hulu bombing, is that considered as acts of terrorism?
Under the law, those acts will fall within the definition of terrorism under Section 4. Under this law. I'm not alluding to anybody.
Yes.
But as the reports are coming through the media, under this law, it falls within it.
Yes. Kay kanana ang ma-prevent na nato any nga similar nga mga activities imbako nga mahitabo. So is this a guarantee nga ma-prevent yun? Totally.
That no one guarantees except God. But we are only doing the best that we can in order to save our existence. As I said, no one can guarantee except God. But we are doing everything to preserve and protect our existence as a people. This is a serious problem. This is a very serious problem.
Naamay kini siya ibutang tang mao po ni siya mga sentiments no sa mga tao ato man gud both sides no kay in the part of the government kaning anti-terrorism bill nga ngayon gyud kay para makuan ang mga kaning mga nagsow og terror og mga kuano chaos sa gobyerno ana dili pod mo progress ang atong country as a nation og naa po ni mga kasamok. So we have the police, we have the military to enforce the law ana. Pero on the other hand, ang kita pong uban pod nga medyo pod kanana ang naapoy alanganin no nga magamit ni siya towards sa mga political enemies. Dayon namura siya og of all the time nga naglisod tibok kalibutan, naglisod ang tibok Pilipinas nga daghang problema ning pandemic, kanimo gipalusot og dali-dali kay para kumbaga malihis ang isyu problema sa pandemic. Mao po na ila pong mga sentiments no sa uban nga mura kuno og ga focus ani ang anti-terrorism bill not on the pandemic issue, not on the pandemic problem.
I don't share that. Well, when you say politically motivated, even before 2007, every politician who is corrupt, who is crook, he is charged, and his defense is just the simple stereotype defense, politically motivated, even if it is true. Just like drug addicts, if they are apprehended, and there is an evidence, and then their usual defense is planted. I mean these are things that are rehashed or recycled arguments. But for me, using this for personal or political ends, well, it has been like that ever since. Even the time of Jesus Christ. His detractors and
Jesus Christ is a rebel man po sa Rome.
And persecutors are using the law for political ends, using the government, the power of the state. I mean, that has been there. And for me, that should not be used as a factor to determine whether this law is good or not good, whether this law will work for benefit or not, because that has been there already. It's just a recycled argument.
So rest assured, attorney, nga ang atong constitutional rights as a person
guaranteed
under this anti-terrorism bill.
Yes, guaranteed.
Kay mo na fears yun. Labi na sa mga media, sa mga lawyers kuno, sa uban pang profession nga mahilig nga mo voice out against the government.
Ako, I used to voice out against the government. I used to be a critic of the government. If it is wrong, it's wrong. If it is white, it's white. If it is black, it's black.
No gray area.
Yeah, no gray area. But this time, no. We have to save our very existence. Well, there are pros and cons. But to weigh things, I suppose it's more heavy on the side of the law and the purpose of the law than personal interest on the other side. Interest of an organization in particular. Like saying that, yeah, our intentions will really matter in a democracy. Yes. It really matters in a democracy. That's why we have those guarantees in the Constitution, because we are a democratic and republican state. Yes. But while the people in the Bill of Rights have the right to defend themselves from the powers, enormous powers of the government, but the government as a state has the right to exist, has the right to implement the laws for the betterment and for the welfare of everybody. So the question still revolves to the welfare, basic welfare. Why are we doing this? We are doing this for our own welfare and interest. Why are we suppressing criminalities? For our existence, for our welfare. So this is just how we are going to present the best for us. Like the other side will say, we respect them. They're saying, no, this is vital in a democracy, that there has to be opposition, there has to be activism, there has to be protest. Yes. We recognize it is really
check
vital.
and balance.
Because the best opinion and the best decision will come if it is forged by antagonism or resentment or protest. Yes, that's right. Even in your family, there are protests. Like the father will say, we will go to the beach. No, the son will say, no, we'll go to a movie house or whatever. We go to party or what. So there are like that.
So success can be measured, especially if there are tough challenges.
Yes.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that when you stage a protest, when you oppose government regulation and this and that, you are already a terrorist. No, there is a very, very high standard of determination. You imagine, even getting the level of probable cause in evidence from the prosecutor's office is not easy. I'm a lawyer. I've been in practice for about 30 years now. Now, getting the convincing the judge that there is probable cause for the issuance of warrant is not easy. Just a simple judge.
Probable cause.
Probable cause. It becomes very hard when you are trying to convince justices, about 3 justices in the Sandigang Bayan, that there is probable cause. Court of Appeals, the probable cause. How much more the ATC? How many members are there? And everybody should be convinced that there is probable cause. And so I think there are so many safeguards.
Okay. Which brings me also to the issue at hand. Nga ang Mindanao is under martial law still. Pero different nga martial law. Like before sa martial law ni President Marcos. Unsa may relevance ani o mahimong balaod ning anti-terrorism bill? Attorney, dili ba musamot ang gahom sa mga pulis o sa military nga bahadlok na samot ag kitong tuang ibutang tala nga katong mga kusog kaayo nga mo voice out sa ilang mga voices in the streets. Mga street parliamentarians. Oo. Kay mura og mas sila gani sa Luzon hadlok na to nga martial law ta diri sa Mindanao. Wa sila kabalo nga atong martial law. Ora guya yan. No? Pero o kaning come in pag ini anti-terrorism law o mahimo ni siyang law. Asa unsa may kuan ano siya? nabatay ngayon kahadlukan ang mga katawhan, especially di sa Mindanao, nga
No,
pagya na tadaan nga
Okay.
martial law.
People might be saying that this will compound.
Oh,
This will add more weight.
yes.
This will add more burden and sacrifices to the people. I said, no. The martial law is provided under the Constitution. One of the powers of the President. To place the entire country or any part thereof under martial law. Under conditions like invasion or rebellion. And when public safety requires it, the President may, in some safeguards, Congress, etc., put the country or any part thereof under martial law. That's a power. Even without this law, that's a power. And that is that is being enforced in Mindanao. This is a different thing. Although they may have the same objective, peace and order. That it does not give more burden than what is being implemented by the President under martial law. No, we don't even feel anything about martial law. We are happy. People are not even relaxed if the martial law is lifted. People want martial law.
Here in Mindanao.
For one, we are now seeing the military and law enforcers doing their jobs on the streets, watching us day in and day out, night and day. So we feel safe. Because we are not the target of our own military, of our own enforcers.
Yes.
So we feel safe. We don't want martial law to be lifted because we want them to be watching us. We want them to be protecting us. For us in Mindanao, dominantly, we are not against the martial law. And with more reason, this will add more safety to us. Because that martial law thing will only protect us within Mindanao. There are strikes from other countries. There are strikes from other areas in the Philippines, which might also endanger us. We need this. Okay, let's go to the third question.
Ayot, comment kika ni PD Briones.
I just would like to butt in po doon sa martial law dito sa Mindanao. I have been the provincial director of Lanao del Sur and Maguindanao. And the people there welcomes much martial law. Mas gusto nga nilang i-extend pa dahil nakita nila how good was it kung paano na-maintain ang peace and order and yung kung paano na-implement yung martial law doon, nagkaroon ng order. So, yung sabi nga ni Attorney kanina, mas maganda ang resulta ng martial law dito sa Mindanao. And it has been felt doon mismo sa Marawi, Lanao del Sur, and sa Maguindanao. So, there's nothing to debate siguro about that martial law thing na in-implement na-implement last 2 years. And dito naman po sa Anti-Terrorism Bill, nakita naman natin, iba naman ang ano nito. Ang intention nito is about terrorism. And sa terrorism natin, may nakasa din doon na kung may violent activities na talaga, isa na yun sa mga requirements na matag ang isang grupo na terrorist if there is violent activities. So
not merely protesting on the streets.
Opo.
Yung violent activity talaga.
Opo. Yun po, and kami po sa kapulisan, kung ano po ang iutos sa amin as long as it is legal, gagawin po namin.
Okay, thank you, PD. Yes, attorney.
I still have one
question. Third question.
Unanswered. All right. It's a question about 14 days plus extension of 10 days, a total of... it's a question about 14 days detention period plus extension of 10 days, making a total 24 days,
24
permissible detention. All right, let me discuss. What is the existing law before this? I mean, this is still existing up to this time because this is not yet a law. All right, what is the existing law? Is this period of detention provided in the Constitution? Of course not.
Oh, wala sa Constitution.
Therefore, you cannot say that this is unconstitutional.
Okay.
Sometimes people will mix it up. Constitution and this law. No, the Constitution did not provide a period of detention. Therefore, even if you will prescribe 1,000 days of detention, it's not unconstitutional.
Because it
is not provided
in the Constitution.
So there's nothing that is, well, that is just, that is, of course, just a figure of speech. All right. But, all right. So what is the source of the law on permissible detention of an arrested person? It is found under Article 125 of the Revised Penal Code.
Penal Code.
All right. What does Article 125 Revised Penal Code provide? It provides permissible detention. What's the
permissible? What do you mean by permissible?
Oh, because beyond that, it's no longer permissible. The detaining officer is already liable, administratively, civilly, and criminally. Okay, let me finish. All right, I'll continue. Permissible. Under Article 125, a person arrested can only be detained for first 9 hours for light offenses, 18 hours for less grave offenses, and 36 hours for grave offenses or capital offenses. So, what is the period for? The period is that within those periods, depending on the classification of the offense that you are arrested for and detained, you should be brought to the judicial authorities for the determination of the cause of your detention. In other words, the detaining officer has the obligation to file formal charges against you within this period. Filing of charges is just an implementation of the provision bringing the detained person to judicial authority. It is not physically bringing. It is the filing of the proper criminal offense to which he was arrested and detained. Usually, this comes under Article 1, under Rule 113, Section 5, in warrantless arrest.
Okay.
Because if there is a warrant of arrest, no need for you to rush. After all, you have the power to arrest. And that is the warrant that is being given to you by the court. All right. So this is on warrantless. So, when a person is arrested for violation of this bill, of this law, if this will become ultimately a law, then he will stay in detention permissible without the officer incurring any liability for 14 days plus extension of 10 days. A total of 24 days. Okay. In other words, you will not be brought. You will not be brought to the judicial authorities even within 24 days without the detaining officer incurring criminal responsibility. Did you follow?
Wala siya responsibilidad. Wala siya obligasyon. Within that 14 to 24 days.
Oh, 24 days sa total. Kaya may
Question.
extension.
Nganong kinahanglan mag 14 days? Nganong kinahanglan mag 24 days? Why not ikaw ingon ganina 1,000 days?
Okay.
That is permissible. Sige.
It's like this. You know, okay. Ako lang itong tiwas ulit para masabtan to. Okay. Oh, sige. Padayon to. Why is it 14 days? And why is it that the revised penal code is only 9 hours, 18 hours, and 36 hours? But under this law, 14 days plus extension 10 days, it becomes 24 days. Why? Because as I said, let's go back to my preliminary discussion. Why? Because terrorism might be international. Terrorism may come in a form of technical investigation. But you need a longer period of time to get the evidence.
Okay, sige.
Because the act might be committed in the Philippines, but vital evidences may be secured from other jurisdictions. From other jurisdictions. And it takes time because there are international protocols to follow. There are international classifications to follow. There are channels to be done. That's why the period of detention, to give also an opportunity, to give justice also to our law enforcement officers and the military to secure the evidence for the purpose of justifying the validity of the arrest and detention. So, because of the complexity, because of the nature, then we have this period. Now, you might say, is that unfair? Of course, it's not unfair. Because the period of detention, 9 hours, 18 hours, 36 hours, provided under the Revised Penal Code Article 125 is a general law. This one is a special law. In case of conflict between general and special law, general law should give way to a special law.
May prevail.
Another thing, that is an older legislation. This is a newer legislation. So this will prevail over that one.
Okay.
But this will only apply to crimes defined and penalized under this law only. Article 125 the Revised Penal Code will be applicable to all crimes defined by the Revised Penal Code and other special laws that do not provide for a permissive period of detention. So I think that is already very clear. So there is nothing to worry.
So on the part of the military and the police, are they trained or they will be conducted series of seminars and trainings bahin aning anti-terrorism bill?
Yes.
Sila man gud dayon na nakafocus ani dahil mga kani mga pulis, mga abusado, mga arugante, di kabalo kuan mo na abusive,
yes. Let's forget about this alluding, calling, and then okay. On the objective side, no, I mean, I experienced this in my practice. There are terrorism acts, punishable acts of terrorism that may relate to cyber evidence.
Okay.
That may relate to funding matters. So cyber. Okay. I just want to emphasize. When we say Facebook, Facebook is having a main office in New York, I think. And we have an administrator in the Philippines. To get the data from New York, you have to pass by the Department of Justice, then to the Foreign Affairs. And because it is intercountry.
Yes, authority.
Yes. So it takes time. Twitter. Twitter has two main offices.
Yes.
One in California and the other in Ireland. I have a case, an actual case in Cebu, where I filed a motion in court to be given authority to get data from Twitter in California. So under the rules, under the present rules, you have to have an order from the court, and that will be course to the Department of Justice, the Cybercrime Division of the Department of Justice, and the Foreign Affairs, and go to Twitter and get the evidence. It takes time. Now, about money matters, about funding matters, issues. So, there are terroristic acts that are transferring money from one bank to another through the facilities of international banking system. So, banks cannot just divulge deposits.
Yes, so delegate. Kaya may bank secrecy law.
But because we are covered by the bank secrecy law. But under this law, the bank secrecy law is waived. Under this law.
Okay. Pag-determine sa funding.
Under this law, the bank secrecy is waived. Notwithstanding, the law says, notwithstanding the provisions on bank secrecy law, AMLA can investigate and get your profile, account profile. So all these are very complicated. And they're operating internationally, not just locally. It's not even easy to get evidence and make up a case locally. How much more if it is international? How much more? Our internet speed is very slow.
Yes.
And so 14 days for me is even a joke. 24 days for me is even a joke. I base this on my actual practice. It's a joke. You have to train judges. You have to train prosecutors. You have to train justices for this. You have to train military and PNP personnel, law enforcement officers for this. And any mistake can commit a delay. 14 days is too short. Plus 10, too short. That's why Singapore, 2 years. Singapore, 2 years. 720 days. You see. Australia,
Oh, Australia.
We have the least.
Mm.
In the entire Asia, we have the least period. You see? We are 24 days. Mura tag actor. Mura tag galot kay majikiro ta. No, for me.
Comment ni
That's
PD
a joke.
Briones. Comment.
Totoo po yun, talaga pong ang pagkalap ng ebidensya ay hindi basta-basta po. As have been explained by attorney, talaga pong mahirap, and we will be, kung ipasaman po ito into law, we will be oriented and we will have training on this po.
Okay, so talaga interesado kayo sa mga trainings kaya kayo naman ang napupukol palagi.
Opo.
So,
yes, Atty.
if I may add, 14 days, 24 days is very too short. But let's see. If this will not work, then we will also take proper steps. All right. But what is important here is that, well, they are saying that the rights are prejudiced. The rights will be abused when they are arrested and detained. The rights will be abused. People will be burdened when this law is to be implemented. I think I don't share that observation. You know why? The moment a person is arrested, the rights of an arrested person or a detained person guaranteed by the law are still there. Number one, once a person is arrested, it is even provided under this law that the law enforcement officers or the military will seek the services of the public attorney's office or any lawyer for that matter according to the choice of the arrested or detained person. The very moment, even if you have no lawyer, even if you have a lawyer, the government will provide you. Why? Because the rights under the Miranda ruling are still there.
Miranda
Right to be informed. The right to remain silent. And the right to counsel of your choice. So, immediately, the courts are even informed. Immediately upon the arrest, courts are informed that there is somebody arrested under this law. And the arresting officer will initiate for the legal services from the public attorneys or any lawyer for that matter. They will guarantee for the arrested person. And they will inform the CHR.
Commission on Human Rights.
During the arrest. So these are the safeguards. Now, on the very day that the person is arrested, without waiting for the 14 days or 10 days. With the problem with some detractors, they are magnifying the 14 days and 10 days. That is wrong. Right? The moment a person is arrested, you can, through counsel, even if you don't look for counsel, you'll be given counsel. You can file a petition for habeas corpus. What is that? Habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is a petition to determine, asking the court. You can file directly with the executive judge without waiting for the raffle. You can ask the executive judge to rule on the validity of the arrest and detention. The factual basis for the arrest and detention. So if the court will say there is no basis for detention, the peace officer or the military, even without waiting for the 14 days, they release. You know, there are two sides of the coin.
Yes, mga assurances.
The problem with the newspapers and the publications, they only show one side. There are two sides of the equation. Okay. To the left is the military or the state. Okay, the state. And to the right, let's say, the arrested or detained person. Without anything, the arresting officer, the state, should observe 14 days plus 10 days, 24 days.
24 days.
Filing the case against him. Formal case in court. Left side, right side. Right upon arrest. Right upon arrest. He can contest the factual basis for the arrest and detention in the court in a petition for habeas corpus within 48 hours. Okay? Now, if that fails, then that person can even file for a petition for bail. Because if he is charged...
Bailable ba na siya?
Wait, all crimes are bailable. You don't confuse that. But there are crimes that are bailable as a matter of right And there are crimes that are bailable as a matter of discretion.
Okay.
Oh,
So, kung siya discretion?
Of course. When you are charged for a capital offense, bailable as a matter of discretion. If you get the discretion of the judge favorable, then you get bailed.
So, you mean to say kana discretion?
It depends. If you are charged with a penalty of life imprisonment, that's a capital offense. It is bailable by discretion. But if you are charged with 12 years and 10 years imprisonment under some crimes defined under this act, then that is bailable as a matter of right. So, now, let's go to the provision when you are charged under the violation that calls for a penalty of life imprisonment or a capital offense. So, it is bailable by discretion. You file a petition for bail, you get a lawyer. And you have a lawyer given by the government to you, the PAO. File with the executive judge a petition for bail. After your 48-hour petition for habeas corpus failed, you have all these remedies.
Ang arresting officer ba safe good sila anang 14 to 20 day 24 additional 20 days.
That's the law.
There's no question.
No question.
That's
the
law. Okay. Kay usahay good mag-clash ba?
That's the law. So I don't see any violation. I don't see anything that is not good here.
Okay.
Of course, that's why I said at the outset, if you look at a thing negatively, it produces negative effects. So, it's just like that.
Okay. Wa na tay panahon, mga nalatag parting words and statements ninyo kay murag broad kayo, dayon controversial ang issue, dayon atong gipasabot pod sa mga katawhan, no? Kay mao man guni hot topic of the day, no? Kani anti-terrorism bill. Pero attorney, before ka mag parting words, 100%, 35% ka kuan yun kanang mapirmahan ni President Duterte to become into law, or ipa-review po ninyo sa Department of Justice kay
of course.
naman ko ikuan si Guevara nga namurag maabot pa niya i-review ay pirmahan ni Duterte.
Well, no. That depends on the president. Because the Guevara is acting as an alter ego of the president. If the president says you review that and give me your recommendation, of course he will do it. But the president, I will sign this. Of course, I can do it without you. You cannot even do it without my direction.
Pila ka days mo effect ang law pag sign sa president?
I think it's 30. I don't know. I'm not so sure. But if the law signs it, the moment it is transmitted to him, it becomes a law. If he signs the bill, enrolled bill. Now, if he can allow it to lapse for a certain period, and it's still considered a law. Or he can veto it. Or he can veto the entire law or a portion
or
thereof.
some of provisions.
Yes.
Okay. Wala kita panahon, mga parting words and statements gikan sa atong mga bisita Korbutaga, arita ni Provincial Director Police Colonel Ronald T. Briones, sir.
Going back lang po ma'am doon
yes,
sa sinabi niyo po na sa travel authority that is being issued by the PNP, why not only medical certificate na lang? Now that is a guideline po from National Interagency Task Force, and makikita din po natin na kung medical certificate na lang, napakahirap naman po na basta na lang dahil may medical certificate na pupunta sa kanyang point of destination without knowing ng mga LGUs na parating sila. So magkakaroon po ng chaos and hindi po natin mamomonitor ang movements ng tao. So isa po yan sa mga reasons why there is a travel authority sa PNP ibinigay, dahil kami po sa lahat ng lugar ng mga munisipyo meron pong police stations. And yung police stations po, yun ang nagko-coordinate sa LGU, receiving LGU ng mga locally stranded individuals po. So yun po ang pinaka-reason why there is a travel authority na sinisecure kahit na nga medyo nahirapan ng konti yung ating mga stranded na kababayan, but then that is for monitoring po, para alam din ng receiving LGU kung sino ang kanilang imomonitor pagdating sa lugar nila. And parehas po na nangyari dito sa Dipolog, na monitor po after a while po na may dumating dahil po din sa ating travel authority.
Yes, sir. So,
and doon naman po sa LCAC, tuloy-tuloy po yung ating LCAC in coordination po sa mga stakeholders po, sa LGUs, sa military and the PNP po, and lahat po ng members na mga stakeholders po, kung makikita nyo kahit na po merong pandemic, nagkakaroon ng enkwentro dahil po sa sinasabi nga ni attorney, ang trabaho namin, ang trabaho ng military is to safeguard the people. So tuloy-tuloy po yan ang ating kampanya, ang RCSP teams ng military at PNP na kung saan po dinidetermine ng RCSP team kung ano ang mga needs ng andun sa kabundukan ng mga kababayan natin para rating sa LGU and mabigyan ng LGU ng karampatang solusyon na kung saan po ma-alleviate din ang buhay ng mga naiilad, naluloko ng mga andun sa kabila dahil nga po siguro dahil sa ignorance, and they are capitalizing na sinasabi nila palaging pinapabayaan ng gobyerno. This time po sa LCAC, yung RCSP teams po, yun na ang nagsusurvey na para mabigyan ng solution o ng attention ng local government units, yung kanilang mga barangays in the far-flung areas.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Hopefully, makamiting ang Provincial Advisory Council. ZNPPO on sa TWG. Okay. From Attorney Cres Palpagan Jr., attorney member kauban sa Provincial Advisory Council sa ZNPPO about the Anti-Terrorism Bill. Attorney.
Once again,
kinahanglan mag yung mahadlok ta or dili na Anti-Terrorism Bill?
Kinahanglan mag-hallelujah ta. Di ta mahadlok ani. So, once again, let me express my thanks to all our listeners, our patrons, our advertisers and supporters, and all the people makabati sa atong discussion all over the facility of live streaming YouTube in the internet. And thank you for sharing your time, and thank you for listening to some insights, and with the hope that we, to the best of our efforts, we have brought to you certain good things that you can consider in making up your decision in this controversial anti-terrorism bill. Thank you and good morning.
Okay.
Last na panawagan na lang
po. Go ahead.
Ano po, again po sa lahat ng taga Zamboanga del Norte, ang ano pa rin po natin is yung social distancing, yung face mask wearing. And dito po sa social distancing, sinasabay na rin po namin yung dinidiscourage natin yung back ride sa mga motorsiklo. Dahil po, lalong-lalo na po ngayon na meron tayong positive, hindi natin alam. Although, hindi na, kasi kami sa PNP, hindi kami manghuhula na ang inyong back ride ay kapamilya nyo o kung ano pa man kamag-anak nyo, kasambahay nyo. So, we discourage po yung back ride sa mga motorsiklo. And hindi lang po discourage, I am also enjoining na ang PNP na manghuli kung kinakailangan if there is a wanton disregard po sa social distancing.
Okay. So hinaapon tanong, nasabtan tatanan, no? So salamat kayo sa diri sa tong Pikas Lawak na si Ruji Munira, to si Tax Ilumba, si Daniel Luod, si Mark Bacruya, si Station Manager Edgar Dagumo, Silbert Adete Condunduyano sa atong IT Director, kang Noel, kang Quarisma ba? Marlon Quarisma, no? Roxy's Cakes, no? Oh, may naghatag nato diri sa atoang kuan. Salamat kaayo, no? Kang Sergeant pa na, no? Si kuan Marlon Quarisma sa PNP Dipolog. Oh, okay. So, salamat kayo, and to God be all the glory. Thank you, God, for the gift of life. Imong gihatag kanamo diri nga nagkauban kami karon sa kapihan sa Dipolog, kauban ni PD Colonel Ronald T. Briones, kang Attorney Cres Palpagan Jr. nga og si kini imong alagad Ginoo si Edith Pahintitumong nga unta sa kanunay mapadayon kami imong minggiyahan sa kanunay ini among kapihan sa Dipolog, kauban sa mga bisita matag Domingo nga tanan nga tagaan mo kami og maayo nga panglawas sa kanunay kauban sa mga pamilya. Lord, thank you so much for today and every day nga imong gihatag kanamo. We wake up every morning and we sleep at night also. So mao na nga among pwede na ko makuha ni si Dr. Jane Jaug. Amo nang gipangayo sa kanunay. Sir, Doc, good morning, Doc. Kadyat lang. Doc, update lang ta ko sa kuan sa positive ba ang case diri sa Dipolog ba about it? Pwede ka Doc, napako sa airtime kadyat lang Doc ha. Ako kang i-air kay daghan kayo airtime lang gamay lang Doc ha. Bahin aning positive case sa Dipolog City. So mga higala, last na to sa kapihan sa Dipolog, si Dr. Jane Jaug sa Department of Health regarding sa tax. Regarding sa positive case, okay na? Regarding sa positive case nga diri sa Dipolog. Okay? Dr. Jane Jaug, go ahead please.
Good morning, Ma'am Edith. Good morning sa tanan. Salamat sa pagkuhan ng taon. Actually, ang municipal, ang city mayor, Senior Darrell, nagpagawas naman siya o kuan. Pagawas naman siya o
official statement.
First confirm positive na to. Actually, gitawag na nako gabiin from the regional health office na confirming our positive case. Sumaunit karon nga ang atong himuon na pud karon is contact tracing nga magbantay gihapon ta kay daghan kaayo ron sa mga nanguli manggod kay local LSI manggod siya local standard individual. Although nasa nagtrabaho siya sa Cebu, pero na siya kanang kwad na siya kanang anang santayan kaniyang mga contact positive naman gud so mauna.
Okay. So, Doc, kana na ang naka-quarantine ni Ron, kinini siyang positive case?
Yes, ma'am. Na siya. Ano na siya. Actually, pag ikan siya Cebu, dito na siya isolate. Dito na siya isolate. Anya, i-develop na siya symptoms, so, muna, i-admit tayo.
Unsa man ni siya, Doc? Asymptomatic?
Symptomatic na nasa ibatik yun, na nasipon siya. Nasipon na siya rin. So, na kuhaan 2 days after, kuhaan na siya o kuhaan na nato din sa Okswap.
Okay.
Dali raman po siya ang result. So, wala niyang result. Itan dato kuhaan kanang June 5, June 5, pagka basta kay dalira tayo sa June 12 tayo ng pagka 13 ikawas na tayo ng iyang result. So sa Sambuanga na to bisan ang iyang kuan kisingen.
So Doc, sa unsay protocol ani Doc? O naka-positive man ta diri sa Dipolog unsa ni? Mo lockdown ang tibuok Dipolog o ang barangay ra diin naa diha ang kuan affected?
Actually, ma'am, na ay ongoing ron nga meeting with the mayor sa iyahang incident command center. So nag-meeting pa sila, wala man po na ako diri sa Leon Postigo, katagalan Postigo man ko. So murag ang result siguro sa ilahang meeting diha na to mahibaw-an unsay plano sa ni Mayor Karen.
So on the part sa DOH, Doc, kay naman kas DOH, unsa may katabang sa DOH sa LGU Dipolog nga dunay positive na jud karon?
Okay, so far ang ato ang pagabuhaton karon is mag-contact tracing ta and then padayon gihapon kung naay mga na-standard nga symptomatic na ay mga gitang bati. So naaraman po tay makahatag man ta og swab.
Okay.
Katong for swab test nga kuan kadang pwede na to magkuan ta specimen collection ta para katong mga naagipang bati ma-swab dito sila.
Okay.
So dayon akong hangyo nga kuan kanang ang uban dili pa mo prefer og home quarantine umaton to sa atong isolation area para ma-monitor ang tanan sa namatay mga human resource for health, mga nurses and midwives sa mataglungsod sa syudad sa Dipolog na among putay daghan ana. So mao na nga unta kuan kanang magpa-isolate unta ta sa atong isolation area din. Ang uban lang gud mo reklamo nga mag-expect sila nga ang ilahang atuan murag hotel ni ana. So dili na lang ta kuan og mareklamo unsan ta nang ato ang puy-anan ma'am basta lang kay safety ang tanan.
Okay. Panawagan nimo Doc, panawagan para sa mga katawhan nato.
Sige. Manawagan ko sa tanang mga katawhan din sa Dipolog labi na gyud ang tibok probinsya nga naapay confirmed positive COVID-19. So akong gihangyo nga atong mga kitang tanan kuan ta mura nga butag libre na. So padayon gihapon ang pag-wear of mask. Nya o kung mulakaw ta social distancing padayon ra gihapon. O katong uban pa mga precautionary measures like hand washing or personal hygiene. So ang ato ang kuan ta karon is no touch policy. No touch policy ha. Kay aron dili ta makakontak wa mo ta ka karon mao na ang pinaka hatlok sa tanan kay nanguli na mangutan sa mga mao pinaka hatlok nya murag nabalibat ta
nabalibat jud. Akitong hadlok kay sa tanan sila wala ta diri tapos karon nga naluag na tanan kita nanuoy na naunsa naman ni ang finishing line man tanaw kuan na kay murag ta libre naman hinuunta nya ang mga katawhan pud murag nalingaw sila nga pag-ung nakagawas pa. So padayon nagyapon atong stay at home, no? Stay at home kado wala gid kay di ka mo palit og pagkaon di ka nang puta mo gawas. Okay. Gawas sa balay. Then Doc, last question Doc. Kanang mo gawas sa probinsya kay negative o positive ta karon dahil pamitan madtog Sibugay. Unsa may pangitaon ana Doc?
Kuan nagyapon kay di ba naman sa regional emergency task force so ang kuan nila depende ra man gud sa probinsya pud sa ilahang kuan sa lang protocol protocol so pareha gud nato natay na-input na protocol ang Sibugay na input sila protocol so ang kita kung kita sa norte maato tag Sibugay marang within sa region ram na sila so marag parehas ra jud ta requirements medical certificate travel authority marag gihapon Okay, salamat kayo, Doc. Salamat kayo, Doc. God bless. Okay, sige, bye-bye. Okay. Maupunta si Dr. Jane Jaug no sa Department of Health. So wala na tay panahon na namilit jud ko na salamat kay kanto kang Dani kang Rogie no kang Tax. Kini si edit pahinti tumong sa ato ang kapihan sa Dipolog. Stay safe everyone. Wear your mask, hand washing, stay at home kay na naging positive ang Dipolog City. God bless us all.
Tatak RMN.
No ouch ouch, walang hapdi. No ouch ouch, para pumuti. Walang ouch ouch sa White Rose Kojic Whitening Soap. May kakaibang Kojic Depomate para walang side effects na skin irritation o over-drying. Kojic na walang hapdi. Wow wow, ang White Rose puti. Oh wow wow, puting walang hapdi. White Rose